Hello out there and welcome to another episode of LiveCycle Tutorials Forum Edition. Today's forum entry we're looking at comes from the Adobe Forums. The OP originally asked for if they had a form that was, they called it 15 by 9, so 9 rows, and in one of their columns, if any of the fields that had a value were were 300, and any of the other cells that had a value were not 300, then you wanted an error message to pop on the screen letting the user know that if one's 300, they all have to be 300. So his extra details, just to sort out the logic here, if all of the fields that have something in them are 300, then there's no message. And if none of the fields that have something in them are 300, then there's no message. So the way I'm designing this is, for the solution, is a table with one row that repeats 9 times. I don't know, there could be possibilities that the number of rows change. If so, then we want to do it this way so we don't have to restrict ourselves to stopping at 9 when we're doing our checks, because we're going to end up using a loop. We don't want to stop at 9 if there's 20 rows. So let's make this script as generic as possible, just in case the number of rows changes later when the form is being used. We'll start by collecting our rows together in a group. In this case, we're going to use table test.row1, and we're going to put a star here because we want all of them. And this is what we're actually looking at, is there's one table, but there's many row 1s, and inside of each row 1 is what we call NF test. Now we need two variables here. We need to collect information about whether or not something is 300. So our first variable for our Boolean is 3. This is to collect if there is a cell that we find that happens to be 300. We're going to start out calling them false. The other one being not 3. This is where we collect information if one of them happens to be not 300. Now, we don't care about how many are 300 or not 300. We only care if there happens to be a 300 and a non-300 at the same time. So we're going to loop through our table. And we're only going to check the ones that aren't null. So let's limit this next part of our statement. So as we go down our list of rows, if there's something in the cell, then we're going to drop into this code block. So this first line here is if we're going down the list, we find a cell that has something in it, and that cell value is 300. Then we're going to set our Boolean to true. We're not going to include an else here because we don't want to change it back if we find one later that's not. We want it to stay true because we want to know at some point when we went through this table, we found a value that was 300. We'll do a similar thing here for values that aren't 300. Again, we're not going to change back because we don't care if there's one right behind the other or how many there are. We want to know if it happens. So the only condition in which the user or the designer wanted an error message for the user would be if both a cell with 300 and a cell with not 300 existed in his table. In that case, we're going to pop a message up. If 1 is 300 to be 300. Now let's take a look at our form and see what it looks like. So we see our 9 rows here. Let's say 150. I'll come way down here and do 367 and 589. We check. No errors because nothing is 300. Now let's go ahead and put a 300 in here. Check. If one is 300, they all have to be 300 because we have a 300, but the rest of these aren't. So let's delete these that aren't 300, and we'll make sure that our null checking is not an issue because we have a 300, but we have some empty values now. We check. No error message. And we could put 300 in all of these other ones. We've done enough testing now to know for sure that our code logic is sound. So let's put 300 in everything, check, works just fine. They're numeric fields, so we don't have to worry about letters going in. And then finally, let's do one more test. Everything's 300 except for one. We get an error message. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this last video. If you would, throw a like on there if you did. If not, leave a comment and explain why. Or if you have any questions, of course, comments are great for that as well. And if you want to know when the next LiveCycle tutorial video comes out, please remember to subscribe to our channel.